Well, we're going to try a little different of a format here. My co-host Fajardo is with me. You're going to see two icons. I'm Captain Paul on the top. Fajardo's on the bottom. I think
Jesus.
we're going to try this out. I'm going to be doing more content with Fajardo throughout the summer. We're going to be starting a podcast. We're going to set a day every week. It's going to be a weekly podcast talking about NHL news. But let's talk about the big news here. Ivan Provorov was traded to the Columbus Blue Jackets in a three-way deal. The notables in the trade, Philly gets Cal Peterson and Sean Walker. They also get a 2023 first-round pick from the LA Kings, a 2024 second-round pick, from the Columbus Blue Jackets, which is a conditional, so it can either be a 2024 or a 2025. As stated, the Blue Jackets get Provorov, and the LA Kings retain $2.025 million of Provorov's salary and a couple minor leaguers. So, essentially, the LA Kings, they gain cap space, over $5 million in cap space. The Blue Jackets get Provorov, and the Flyers get a goalie in Cal Peterson that didn't really work out for the Flyers. Maybe he can reestablish himself this season in a new scene. New location, and then they get Sean Walker, who's a quality defenseman, with some draft picks. So, what's your thoughts on this trade, Fajardo?
Well, it looks like all the teams are benefiting in a way that they are still able to kind of roster a decent potential team for this season, but also build on it for the following seasons and the future ahead of them. You know, with the Flyers grabbing so many draft picks, that's huge for them, right? Because one of the biggest draft classes that's been around for quite some time, they're actually going to be able to probably get a couple of good picks in the first round in this draft, right? But they also have some stuff coming in for the following years, so they have the potential to build as they go along. And yeah, you look at the Peterson contract and you're like, well, that's kind of steep for a mediocre goalie at the moment. But, maybe a change of scenery, maybe he becomes better, maybe he's worth it. We'll figure that out, right? But they are making attempts to improve the team overall, which for Philly has been a very difficult thing over the past couple of years. For LA, they clear up some cap space. And they also stay in the running of still being able to start looking to build on what they have and, some of the things coming in. So yes, for them, it's good. And
See,
I apologize.
Go ahead, sorry. Go ahead.
And for Columbus, all right, the big thing for them is they're trying to solidify their defense, which was probably one of the biggest problems that they had this past season with some missing pieces, obviously, some injuries and things like that. But now you're bringing in someone else who's a little more proven. Maybe he was, also in need of finding a new home or just a whole new scene, considering on the awful teams that he's been part of for the past couple of years. So maybe it's one of those things where it'll benefit Columbus and the player himself.
So I think with the Kings, to be noted here, they were in talks with Gavrikov, and they had limited cap space. So this moving of cap and kind of making things work, most likely he'll be back in a Kings uniform. They ended up dealing Sean Walker in this trade, and he's a quality defenseman. But when you bring in Gavrikov, he really becomes less needed in that system. So I like Walker to Philly. That will help them improve defensively. I think Provorov should definitely help that blue line. Now, is Provorov a pure number one defenseman? It's hard to tell. He's been on some really bad teams the past couple seasons. He's a young 26-year-old, I believe. So, I'm assuming he's going to keep on improving. But even as a number two, with Werenski being healthy, hopefully for a full season, there should be massive improvements. I think this is one of these few trades all three teams do win, right? The Kings get what they need, which is cap space, and get rid of a bad contract with Cal Peterson. The Flyers get a goalie in Peterson that maybe they can kind of, fix. And then they also get a good defenseman in Sean Walker and some quality draft picks. And The Columbus probably gets the best player in the deal, Provorov. I think it's a win-win for everybody. But if I was going to say a pure winner, I'm kind of torn between the Blue Jackets because the best player, but then I really love the Flyers package of getting more draft picks. But I think for right now, right here and now, in the next 4 or 5 years, the Blue Jackets win this trade. But it does depend how the Flyers drafting works out. What's your opinion?
I call this the Aiden Hill effect. You take a goalie that's been, has a high ceiling and has not lived up to it. You put him somewhere where it's possible, right? You take a look at someone like Aiden Hill, who was like third or fourth in the Vegas Knights system. And, he had a bad rep going there and everything else. And he was like a chance, but it came down to it. They needed him. And here we are, in the Stanley Cup Finals. And he's probably been the best goalie in the entire playoffs.
Absolutely.
It makes you believe. It makes you believe that some of these guys just need a change of scenery, maybe a different system to really find it. And for Philly, it's possible that they feel like, maybe Peterson can live up to the potential that he had.
Yeah, I think the one massive difference with that comparison, though, is Vegas is such a better team. So I think it's a little bit less pressure. They block a lot of shots, and with the Flyers, defensively can be pretty lax. But I think there is a point to be said there that some guys give up on these goaltenders, and sometimes just a change of scenery and maybe just a fresh outlook from a different goalie coach can save them. But let's talk about this really quick before we go. With the Flyers getting Cal Peterson and the Carter Hart rumors to Montreal, does that indicate that it's a for sure thing?
I think it is definitely one of those things that is. I think it's definitely going to happen. I think they move Carter Hart for a better piece or better pieces. Right? It just becomes one of those situations where now you have Carter Hart, who is also in the scenario of needing a new scenery, and where would he fit, and who would be willing to give you something that's notable, right? So the rumors around the block is he goes to Montreal, and obviously whenever you have a team like Montreal that's kind of been not in shambles, but iffy throughout the whole season with the whole Caulfield signing and everything else, and all those different players, right? So some of those names are going to be thrown around, especially with the season that they had. They were expecting a bigger season from those boys. Things didn't go as planned, but now that the season is pretty much over, there's only the championship left. That's it. Now you start looking at the teams, you start looking at what's available, and you start making things available, right? Because it's not that you're giving up on players, but you want to see what people are willing to give you for some of these players. And sometimes you might end up getting more than you were expecting, and you may have to take that deal, right? So
I think with Montreal, though, in comparison to most teams that were really bottom feeders, Montreal had a significant amount of injuries, like ridiculous amount.
Yeah.
I think it was like over 1,000 man games lost through this season. I don't want to quote me on that. I don't have that in front of me. And, Caulfield was out pretty early in the season. Montreal has all the pieces. Now, if I'm trading Carter Hart, if I'm the Flyers, I'm looking to get some of those prospects. And I've done a video, as you know, about the Montreal Canadiens and how highly I think of their prospects, and especially with more draft picks in this upcoming NHL draft, they're just going to get deeper and deeper. So what would I be willing to trade Carter Hart for? I at least would look for maybe that first-round pick from the Florida Panthers this year, which will be the 31st or the 32nd pick, probably with some other pieces. But, I think Carter Hart to Montreal could work. I don't think it's worked great in Philly because of the team around him, but I think if he went to the Habs, we could be looking at a Canadiens team within the next couple seasons that's, threatening for that top spot in their own division. So it should be kind of fun to see how things pan out. And what they're kind of lacking right now is a bona fide number one. Montembeau's played well, considering, but I think he's more of a backup than a true starter. But he'll give you some quality starts. But is Jake Allen the guy that's going to lead you to a Stanley Cup? That's kind of tough to believe. But anything else actually to add before we get out of here?
No. I give this trade a thumbs up for all teams.
Yeah, I think every team benefited from this trade. I think everyone gets what they want, and it should be very interesting to see what happens with Kyle Peterson with Philly, and also Provorov in Columbus. Can he fill out that potential everyone has talked about for years and years? So if you guys enjoyed this video, please make sure to drop a like, comment down below, subscribe. It's all free, helps the channel grow, and look forward to our podcast that will be starting weekly. I'm Captain Paul, that's Fajardo down below, and I'll see you in the next one.